Tonight, a Marquette legend returns.
Plus, that winning feeling is back on campus.
A lot to get to today, so thank you for joining us. Golden Eagle Sports Report starts right now.
Slam! Done! Oh, that's a poster.
Live from the Jeannie Hayes Virtual Studio at Marquette University, this is Golden Eagle Sports Report.
Marquette gets the rebound, and the champions have gone down!
Good evening, everyone. I'm Ben Ward.
And I'm Sophie Hanrahan.
Starting the action tonight, the women's basketball team looks to exercise some Blue Demons inside the Owl.
And 2 periods in, it seems like the job is done when Marquette goes up 22 points before the half.
Start spraying that holy water.
Whoa, not quite yet, Ben, because there's still a whole other half left. And this second half is a different story.
Marquette gets comfortable and the Blue Demon defense is feisty and forces turnover after turnover.
And these paper cuts start to add up as Marquette struggles to keep their lead.
Senior guard Jaden Mason hits the clutch free throws to finally win the game for Marquette.
I need to stress just how clutch those points are as DePaul hits a 3 to close the game, but it's too late.
Coach Consuegra and the Golden Eagles take care of business and win their third in a row, 74-73.
In the win, Hallie Weiss excels, scoring 18 points and grabbing 14 rebounds.
The Creighton Blue Jays fly into Pfizer Forum for a Tuesday night date with the Marquette Golden Eagles.
The Golden Eagles enter the new week after Friday evening in the doghouse.
Yeah, Sophie, Marquette's road loss to Butler put them at the bottom of the Big East.
Ben, that bottom feeder title doesn't seem to sit right for Shaka Smart and co. as Royce Parham gets physical early.
Creighton fires back with a triple of their own from third-year forward Isaac Trout.
It's a close one early, Ben, but do my eyes deceive me, or is this Marquette offense finally clicking?
You are seeing exactly right, Sophie. That second-year wing, Demarius Owens, getting the 3 to fall. And that's not all. How about the Owen steal and first-year Adrian Stevens cashing in the corner tray?
Coach Shaka Smart is pumped as Marquette leads Creighton 17-9, and the onslaught continues with a fast break feed from James to Ross.
The senior from the top rope.
With just a few seconds left in the half, James finds Ross once again, this time in the coffin corner.
Marquette's 29-point halftime lead was Marquette's largest of the season.
A corner 3 from Creighton's Nick Graves brings the deficit to 23, but it's all too little too late for the Jays.
It's impossible to mention this game, though, without talking about this wild windmill from Nigel James Jr. What a slam.
Marquette triumphs over Creighton with a 26-point victory in Pfizer Forum. This win marks their largest in over 2 months.
While Marquette hosted Creighton on Tuesday, the Golden Eagles welcomed back a Marquette legend who was honored in his return to Milwaukee. MUTV assistant sports producer Brian Wilson has more from Pfizer Forum.
Stevie Mitchell made his return to Pfizer Forum today to receive the 80th annual McKay-Hill Award following one of his teammates, Oso Ighodaro, who won it a season ago, and the Marquette men's basketball team showed up in his return.
Stevie Mitchell's former teammate came up big early for the Golden Eagles. Royce Parham, Demarius Owens hitting a couple threes, and Chase Ross having an electric slam. The Golden Eagles would commemorate Mitchell at halftime as they led 52-23 over the Creighton Blue Jays. Mitchell's former coach, Shaka Smart, had a message for the point guard.
Well, first of all, congrats to Stevie for winning the McKay-Hill Award, the most prestigious award that a Marquette student-athlete can win. It was moving before the game to be part of the ceremony. Stevie being acknowledged for that award. Pretty impressive list of people that have won that award.
Marquette would get the win for Stevie Mitchell, and he talked about the season for Marquette and what it means.
This year is a chapter in, a long book, and, the book could, be great, and this chapter could be very meaningful. And I think that's the mindset they already have anyway. So I'm just excited for these young guys to continue to grow, continue to get better, and then, continue to just enjoy the moment, be in the moment, and then one day just end up in a position where they have options to, play at the next level and continue to do their thing.
I'm Brian Wilson, Marquette Wire Sports.
Following Marquette's big win over the Creighton Blue Jays, our very own Jake Dale dives into the film for this edition of Gesr Film Room.
They're always active. Their ball screen coverage was aggressive. And we didn't do a good enough job getting a piece of the paint on the second side of the floor.
Greg McDermott is exactly right. One thing Marquette does on defense is they're always active. If you hear Shaka Smart on the sidelines, he's going to be yelling hands. That's what he's constantly saying, hands, hands, hands. If you see on this inbound play with Creighton and Marquette, what's going to be most present is Marquette's availability in where they're covering the lanes. You can see Adrian Stevens comes over, leaves his man, lets Chase Ross have it. Ben Gold also leaves the inbounder, but there's no way to pass the inbounder and there's no way to swing the ball to the other side of the court because Marquette has such active hands. On this play, their active hands are going to get a steal in the form of trying to do an outlet pass by Creighton, and Chase Ross is going to pounce on it. The biggest thing about these active hands is not only does it create these transition buckets like this alley-oop from James to Ross, but it also creates a larger sense of momentum. Momentum was a big deal in this game. It's something where you get out early and you just continue to snowball that into your offense. It's something that an offense like Marquette needs to survive when you're not able to get points in the half court. Let's talk about dunking. One of the most efficient shots in basketball, because obviously if you're right there under the hoop, all you need to do is jump and put two hands in. But for Marquette, it hasn't been that easy. They've had major struggles at layups. They haven't necessarily struggled to get there, but it's struggling making good once you're there. Here, we see Adrian Stevens high double, gets doubled by two Creighton defenders, sees Royce Parham here. Seems like Creighton's running sort of a pseudo 3-2 with 3 at the top and 2 at the bottom. The best way to beat this is getting in the middle of it because someone has to swarm you and there should be an open defender at the end. But this time it's just Royce Parham in the high block. You can see Michael Phillips makes a cut inside. This doesn't faze the Creighton defenders, and it's just Royce Parham's one-on-one. The good thing is he's bigger than him, and he makes a great spin move to capitalize for a dunk. Marquette in past games have struggled with layups, as I said before. The best way to capitalize that is dunking itself. Marquette finishes their campaign with 11 steals, and you always wonder how much of defense is effort. Shaka Smart preaches about effort, being lost in the fight, being an energizer, giving EGBs. But when it comes to practice, that effort really can translate into steals when it turns into active hands and points on the other end. For GESR Film Room, I'm Jake Dale, Marquette Wire Sports.
Coming up next on Golden Eagle Sports Report, more basketball is on the way.
Plus, we have a new edition of Weekly Awards.
Stick around for all that and more after this quick break.
Everyone has a ritual, that small thing that keeps us focused. A habit we never skip to clear our minds and elevate our performance.
But what do you do to keep your head in the game, to drown out the self-doubt and support your mental health? Because being your best isn't just about taking care of your body.
It's about taking care of your mind and mental health. Discover the resources you need to keep your mind focused and your mental health a priority.
Love is a lesson that doesn't end. It knows no conditions, so you better buckle in. Love keeps you on your toes. It never stops, only grows. Love isn't easy, it's a commitment, especially when they're being their most resistant. Love is finding the right seat so you can take a breath. But remember, love isn't lax, it always double checks. Check that your kids are in the right seat at nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
I would just want you to listen to me more often and lead me towards success.
Listening is a form of love. Find ways to support your kids at sounditouttogether.org.
The impact of a meal goes well beyond feeding our bodies. Because when people are fed, futures are nourished. Everyone deserves to live a full life. And with your help, together we can end hunger. Join the movement at feedingamerica.org/actnow.
Hello and welcome back to Golden Eagle Sports Report. Once again, I'm Sophie Hanrahan.
And I'm Ben Ward.
The men's basketball team soars east for a Big East clash with the Butler Bulldogs at Hinkle Fieldhouse in Indy. The Bulldogs started out hot, going up 17-8 before the Golden Eagles started to storm back with 14-11 to go in the first stanza. Royce Parham was a presence in the paint. He totaled us 14 points on 6 for 8 shooting inside the three-point line.
Both teams struggled to shoot the three ball in the first half with a combined threes for 22. The second half turns into the Finley Bizjack show, who was a silencer for Butler. Multiple times in the second half, the Golden Eagles went on runs to cut it to a one-possession game. Bizjack answered the call when needed to. He had a total of 28 points, including 4 three-pointers.
Chase Ross and Nigel James Jr. both had 15 points for Marquette and helped keep the Golden Eagles in the game. Butler led 75-72 with 3:02 left in the second half. Marquette had an opportunity to tie it, but Chase Ross missed from a three from the corner. Following the miss by Ross, Butler would go on a 12-4 run to end the ball game.
Butler defeated Marquette 87-76. Marquette fell to 0-7 on the road and 7-14 overall this season.
The women's basketball team made their own trek to the Circle City for their own matchup against the Butler Bulldogs. A tightly contested game through and through, with Marquette taking a slim 3-point lead at the end of the first quarter.
And in the second quarter, it was all Marquette. A tremendous 19-0 run helped put the Golden Eagles in front going into the second half. It was a tale of two halves as the Bulldogs are poised to bite back.
Marquette held off the Bulldogs in the third quarter with clutch points from Hallie Weiss, Jaden Mason, and Kiara Smith. It seemed that a Butler comeback was nowhere in sight. However, those plans were back on the fourth as the Bulldogs undergo a long scoring run to make it a 4-point game with just seconds to go.
Butler's storybook comeback was for naught as the Golden Eagles pull away with clutch free throws from Hallie Weiss to seal it. Marquette comes home with a 64-60 win, with Weiss leading the Golden Eagles with 23 points. The Golden Eagles return to the Owl on February 4th against the Providence Friars. Tip-off at 6:30 p.m. Now it's time for our favorite segment, the weekly awards. For our Rising Star of the Week, we give it to sophomore Royce Parham of the men's basketball team. Parham's performances against Butler and Creighton makes him this week's Rising Star, including hitting the most points in his Marquette career so far. Next up, our team of the week is the women's basketball team. The Golden Eagles went 2-0 last week, including a signature road win at Butler and a close home win against DePaul. And finally, our MVP of the week is first-year Nigel James Jr. of the men's basketball team. James's continued strong performances makes him this week's MVP with 21 points against Creighton and 15 points at Butler. And now, coming up this week in Marquette Athletics, the men's basketball team starts the action when they travel to Seton Hall. The Pirates are 15-6 on the year and are coming off of a win versus the Xavier Musketeers. But something to watch, the Pirates are 9-3 at home. Marquette is coming off their best game of the season with their 86-62 win over Creighton. This game tips off on Saturday at 11 a.m.
Now on Sunday, the women's basketball team traveled to the nation's capital when they take on the Georgetown Hoyas. The Hoyas are 12-9 on the year and are led by junior Kiaya Miller, who's averaging 11.3 points per game. In the other corner, the Golden Eagles are 14-7, coming off a 3-game win streak. Junior forward Skylar Forbes has been the key, as she's averaging 15 points a game. This Big East brawl goes down this Sunday at 4 p.m.
And the women's basketball team bounces back home where they host the Providence Friars. The Friars are 10-12 on the year but are 3-8 in Big East play. Before taking on Marquette, Providence plays versus the Johnnies at home. This game starts next Wednesday at 6:30 p.m.
And now we welcome in women's basketball beat reporter Mikey Severson for some quick insight on the team. Thank you for joining us tonight, Mikey.
Thank you for having me on the show tonight.
Of course. Let's get started. The Golden Eagles have been getting into a rhythm lately. They've won their last 3 games in a row. What do you think has been clicking so well for the team?
All right, plain and simple, I think it's got to be finishing in close situations. You look at each of their wins, St. John's, Butler, DePaul, they execute when they needed to in that fourth quarter to seal those wins on that 3-game winning streak. Seton Hall, had Jane Mason not gone down with a bad cramp, they could have finished that game off too in Jersey. Georgetown, they were close at the end there. They were down 27 in the third quarter after a nightmarish start for the Golden Eagles. This road rematch against the Hoyas will be big time in D.C.
So coming up big when it matters.
Yes.
That's what's been critical for them.
That's been the trend, and they need to keep it going.
Great. Hallie Weiss now has 8 double-doubles. She's leading the Big East. How has Coach Consuegra put her in this position to succeed, and what sticks out about her game this year?
About her game, what sticks out really is her positionless versatility overall. She can shoot the three pretty well. She is a menace in the paint, and especially with rebounding. She leads the team with over the century mark on the boards. She has 8 double-doubles on the season, including against DePaul, where every point and every rebound was needed to best the Blue Demons.
And you mentioned that Kara called her the unicorn. Can you talk about that?
Yes, that term was actually for her and her roommate, Skylar Forbes.
Oh.
Both players are incredibly positionless for their size. They both play the 4 and 5 spots on the court in the post, but they can shoot the 3 ball really, really well. And they are good distributors to their smaller guards, such as Jaden Mason, Bridget Utberg, and they can play the post. They can really play any spot on the floor.
Amazing. Well, we're now a season and a half into the Coach Consuegra era here at Marquette. Mikey, where have you seen this team succeed, and where do you think they can still improve?
I think this team's biggest improvement has been their three-point shot. Lee Volker has really come into her own as a perimeter threat. They brought in Jordan Melmans from the Butler Bulldogs this past offseason and improved in that category. And don't sleep on Bridget Utberg as a perimeter threat. She can knock down a few threes when she gets in the game. She's a fiery competitor.
And what about where they can still improve?
Still improve this season? Turnovers. That's been the main story. They had 24 against DePaul, really 11 in the second half, and 8 from their point guard, Jaden Mason, who has been playing a spectacular season, but really wasn't her finest second half against the Blue Demons. They stymied her, but she came up strong in the end with those 2 clutch free throws, and Kara Consuegra's belief in Mason never wavered when she put her on the floor in that situation when the Blue Demons were really getting to her.
Well, they still have time to improve. They're 4th place in the Big East with an 8-4 Big East record. They still have big games coming up against UConn, Villanova, Seton Hall. Where do you see these games playing out, but then also where do you see them finishing out in the conference?
I think in the conference right now, they are 4th overall league standings. I think Seton Hall and Villanova, they can win one of those games. I believe it'll take a lot of grit, a lot of effort, and a lot of heart from what Kara Consuegra's playbook says. But I think UConn Huskies are going to prevail, even at the Al McGuire Center. I think Seton Hall is winnable. They were really close last time. I mentioned about that cramp for Jaden Mason. I think they're going to be motivated to finish on their home floor too. They almost pulled off in Jersey, and they want to prove they can finish. I think they pitched a perfect game against the Villanova Wildcats. Villanova's going to be hungry. They're coming to Marquette is going on the road, and Villanova is going to be wanting to defend their home floor. I think Marquette's kind of been on a slow slump. Even though they've been managing to grit out these wins, I think the Wildcats are going to be hungry. It's going to be a 50-50 game. Both teams should be hungry going into that game. I think out of the 3, that's going to be the most pivotal.
And big picture, how far do you see this team going in the Big East tournament?
Big East tournament, I think they're going to run into UConn at some point, and the Huskies are going to stop them.
Of course. Well, thank you so much for your insight, Mikey, but we are out of time. Coming up next is a Pro Bowl invitation and joke now, plus should snow games be a thing of the past? Stick around and find out after this quick break.
Emma, did you hear?
Todd's in the hospital.
Who's Todd? He got a collapsed lung from vaping. He thought it was cool.
Not cool.
Promise you won't vape, Emma. It can lead to a lifelong addiction, and we can't be friends if your lungs collapse.
Bogus.
Wacky sitcom teens aren't the best people to talk to your kid about vaping.
Hey, you got a minute?
You are. Start the conversation with your child about vaping today.
Love is a lesson that doesn't end. It knows no conditions, so you better buckle in. Love keeps you on your toes. It never stops, only grows. Love isn't easy, it's a commitment, especially when they're being their most resistant. Love is finding the right seat so you can take a breath. But remember, love isn't lax, it always double checks. Check that your kids are in the right seat at nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
I would just want you to listen to me more often and lead me towards success.
Listening is a form of love. Find ways to support your kids at sounditouttogether.org.
Everything happening in the NFL. I'm Sophie Hanrahan. Joining me tonight on the panel, Ben Ward, Charlie Burgess. We have a lot to talk about tonight, so let's get started. Earlier this week, a bombshell hit the NFL. Seth Wickersham and Don Van Natta of ESPN reported that Bill Belichick did not receive the necessary 40 out of 50 votes to make the Pro Football Hall of Fame. A lot of people believed he was going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Is this the biggest snub in the history of sports? Let's start with you, Charlie.
I mean, I have to say that it is. I mean, we're talking about Bill Belichick here. This is a guy who's won 8 Super Bowls over his illustrious career. He's coached the greatest defensive player of all time in Lawrence Taylor, the greatest quarterback of all time in Tom Brady, and the greatest special teamer of all time in Matthew Slater. I don't know how, outside of maybe Vince Lombardi, you can snub this guy from the Hall of Fame.
Ben?
I don't know. Look, Bill Belichick, maybe don't go through Spygate, maybe don't go through Deflategate. I know it wasn't mainly Belichick on the Deflategate, but still. I think these Hall of Fame voters, I think a lot of people in the NFL are actually out to get the Patriots. I think their past and their history, it's a little tainted with, like I said, Spygate and Deflategate. So I think I'm not surprised, honestly, that he was not on the first ballot. I can see why these voters are going after them. So honestly, I don't know. I don't think it's a huge snub. It's obviously a snub, but it's not a big snub. It's not the biggest snub in sports history. That's crazy to say. And I don't know. I think that they're out to get to the Patriots. They were winners. Everyone hates the winners. They hate the villains of the NFL. So I think they're out to get them. I think we could see Tom Brady possibly not go on the first ballot either if people are out to get Bill Belichick.
I don't know, Ben. What's the purpose of the Hall of Fame if it's not to elect the best players and coaches and GMs? At that point, it's just a popularity contest, and I don't really think there's anything respectable about that.
We could see it happening. I can see the Hall of Fame becoming that. I mean, if you you're starting to get political with the Hall of Fame voters, as you can see, without voting for Bill Belichick just for personal reasons. I mean, that has to be the only reason why. Like you brought up his records. I mean, it's insane that he's not on it. But again, like I said, I think we can start to see these voters start to get more political with their votes and more personal with their votes. And I think that it's, like I said, it could pour into what Tom Brady might not be a first ballot Hall of Famer either.
Well, I guess a move like that just moves the NFL Hall of Fame closer to the NBA and further away from the MLB.
It could happen. I can see it happening. If this happened, I can see that happening in the future because it was crazy.
Then there's dark times ahead for the NFL.
Yeah.
All right, guys. With snow games dominating this year's NFL playoffs and new stadiums being built exclusively indoors, should the future of football be played in a dome or at the mercy of Mother Nature? And we have two different sides of the spectrum. Charlie, Broncos fan, cold. Ben, Jacksonville, warm. Let's start with you, Ben.
Look, being from Jacksonville, the 1 o'clock games in Jacksonville are absolutely brutal. When I tell you, being a Floridian might seem awesome to go on vacation to. When you live in Florida, you get absolutely sick and tired of 80-degree weather, humid, and it has to happen for teams that are in Florida. Now, when we talk about teams that are in Denver, no, make the games outside. That AFC Championship game with the Patriots and Broncos might have been bad and like play-wise because of the weather, but that was awesome. It's awesome to see snow on the field. Like, that is football weather. Snow is football weather. I mean, like I said, it all depends on where the stadium's at. It all depends on the location. I think snow games are awesome, but I also don't think 80-degree humid weather in Florida is safe at all. I mean, I'm going to bring up tennis here. You bring up tennis, like you watch these tennis tournaments, fans pass out in the stands, like from the heat. So I'm honestly surprised I haven't seen more of this in the NFL, fans passing out in the heat, because it is brutal playing in Jacksonville, 1 o'clock games, humid as heck. Yeah, I can't do it.
But is playing in the snow safe either?
I would say playing in the snow is pretty safe. I mean, these teams have been doing it for years. You remember even back to 1967 with the Ice Bowl between the Cowboys and Packers. I think wind chills got as low as negative 35 degrees, and they still went out there and played. There are solutions to get around this stuff, like Vaseline that players will use. I'm serious. They'll like put it on their pores, it closes them up. They'll take a shot of Jack Daniels, and then they're ready to play. But I'm going to half agree and half disagree with you on this home field advantage thing with teams like the Dolphins and the Jaguars. Just like how the Packers and Broncos might have a little bit of an advantage with the snow, I think that teams like Miami and Jacksonville also have that same advantage of playing in the heat and preparing in the heat during fall camp so that they have their own identity that they can bring.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I like how Hard Rock Stadium's set up where the covering goes over just the fans and the kind of just the field's exposed. I agree with that. I think Jacksonville getting a whole new stadium, making it all modern and stuff, and all like even the Titans making it all modern, the big dome. Maybe, it looks nice. It's going to be amazing. Like I said, it's going to be AC. The Floridians are going to be happy. But I like Hard Rock. I think Hard Rock's the perfect example of having the fans covered but the field exposed. You get that balance of the heat, the Florida heat, like you said, the home field advantage is sick. It's awesome to have that in the NFL and all sports. So yeah, I see it as just depending on location. But I really like. I think Hard Rock Stadium should be like the pinnacle of an example for dome stadiums in the future.
Yeah, I just think it would be a disgrace to both fans and players.
I can agree with that. Yeah.
I mean, if every game is played in the exact same sort of circumstances and weather, it just kind of gets boring and played out to a certain point, and teams kind of lose what makes them unique. Like the Bears, who are historically a team that prides themselves on great defense and a strong run game, no longer really have to lean on that, and they become just like the other 31 teams in the NFL.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree.
Great points by both of you. Well, earlier this week, Cleveland Browns quarterback Gesr Sanders was selected to the Pro Bowl, an alternate for the New England's quarterback Drake May. Some of Sanders' statistics, including 7 touchdowns and 10 interceptions, raised eyebrows among fans and media alike, with some saying his spot is because of name recognition. Was his spot in the Pro Bowl deserved, or was he selected for views? Charlie?
As much as I want to side with my boy Shadeezy here, throwing 7 interceptions and 10 touchdowns is not a Pro Bowl quarterback. But I will say, to give Shedeur the benefit of the doubt, I don't think he's the worst Pro Bowler of all time. There's guys like John Hadle in 1972 who threw for only 15 touchdowns and 26 interceptions and still was named the starter in the Pro Bowl. This is no new activity for the NFL, so I think that this is, just nothing new.
Well, let me ask everybody at home what they think about this, and even you guys at the desk. The Pro Bowl, when was the last time the Pro Bowl meant something? This is nothing out of the ordinary. The Pro Bowl has done some crazier things. Like, even the NBA All-Star Game. No one watches the All-Star Game anymore. I mean, the Pro Bowl has turned into the NBA All-Star Game where players aren't trying. I mean, obviously, it never happened in the NFL because, they're not going to hit each other. It's more of a, contact sport. But still, no, the Pro Bowl doesn't mean anything anymore. It hasn't for a while. I mean, they're literally out there playing dodgeball. They're out there doing random, Pro Bowl games. I think it's happening this Tuesday. No one's going to watch it. No one, come on now. I think Shedeur making the Pro Bowl doesn't mean anything because the Pro Bowl doesn't mean anything. And I think, Mac Jones is hitting the gritty 50 yards down the field after a whistle. No, come on, guys. We got to be serious. I mean, no one's watching the Pro Bowl. This doesn't say anything to the NFL. Whatever. It's going to happen. I don't really care about it. And Shedeur can be a Pro Bowler. It's cool. But I also don't agree with, him over Joe Burrow. That's kind of insane. They didn't even think about Joe Burrow, and he didn't play half season, still had significantly better stats than Shedeur, and they put Shedeur in there. That's a little concerning. But like I said, Pro Bowl doesn't mean anything. It's whatever. Good job, NFL. Thank you for being nice to Shedeur, I guess.
My problem with Shedeur making the Pro Bowl, and it is historically, it is a popularity vote. But when we go back and look at these guys' careers at the end, and we're evaluating them for the Hall of Fame or not, one of the big metrics that people use is the Pro Bowl and how many you do make. So if a guy ends up with, let's say, 6 Pro Bowls and 2 or 3 of them were popularity votes, that kind of plays into the Belichick conversation. It's a bit more of a popularity contest to get into the Hall of Fame. Yeah,
and like I mentioned, the votes can start to get personal and start to get political when you talk about the Belichick situation and now maybe the Pro Bowl. Who knows? But I agree with you, Charlie. I think that it all bleeds into each other the way now that it's popularity contest. Even with the MVP vote, people argue that. So yeah.
Thank you guys for this great discussion, but we're out of time. Tune in next week for all of our coverage on Marquette sports and more. I'm Sophie Hanrahan for Ben Ward. Good night, Marquette.